Hello, I'm Kai Radin from the Mass Bay Community College Academic Achievement Center. This video is titled The Effective Use of Quotes in Academic Writing. Enjoy. How to learn effectively. Effective students know that notes are very helpful. When you want to take notes, just pause the video. Feel free at any time to rewind the video and watch it again. After the video, try the skills in the video by reading an article or other text and writing a paragraph using a quote from it. Then, go to the Writing Reading Center to check your work. Hi everyone! Today we're going to focus on a topic, one that is very important for every college writing class you take, as well as for your future history, psychology, healthcare, education, or any other course where you will have to write papers. The topic is how to effectively use quotes within your writing. Whenever you use information you get from sources other than your own mind, you must give credit to the other person. This idea is very important. When you write any college paper and use ideas not from your own mind, you need to tell the reader where the information came from. This makes the reader trust your information and gives credit to the source. We can't fully cover how to develop an effective paper weaving together your ideas with researchers in the single lesson. What I want to focus on today is how to effectively use quotes once you know where it should go. There are two ways of doing this. The first is by using the exact words from your source. This is called a direct quote, and you must put quotation marks around the quote. This is a super important rule. A direct quote is when you use the exact words from a source, such as a journal article, book, the Bible, the internet, or an interview. You must use quotation marks around the words taken from the source, like this. This is a quote, and you'll notice on either side there is a quotation mark. Let's now talk about how to use direct quotes. First, let's take a look at the original source. Here it is. Let's pretend you were writing a research paper about online dating, and this was one of the sources that you were reading to get information to include in your paper, and for background information for your own understanding. Let's pretend that you wanted to use the sentence that is highlighted here. The sentence would be, "Indeed, the girls in my study were, on a whole, much more enthusiastic about the possibilities afforded to net dating than the boys of the same age." If we wanted to use the quote in your paper, you must first introduce the quote to prepare the reader. You can introduce the quote with phrases such as these. So here's how to introduce a quote. Before including the quote, it is usually best to introduce the quote with a phrase like this. Dr. Jones writes, "There is evidence to contradict Dr. Jones's ideas that..." Dr. Jones hypothesizes that. Dr. Jones responds by adding, "On the other hand, Dr. Jones feels," or Dr. Jones concludes. And remember that there are plenty of other examples. These are just a few to give you some ideas. Now let's look at that quote again. We might introduce the quote in our paper like this. So this is the quote about online dating. Dr. Jones writes, "Indeed, the girls at my study were, on the whole, much more enthusiastic about the possibilities afforded to net dating than the boys of the same age." Let's take another look at these examples, and note how to use correct punctuation. The rule is that the quotation marks always come after periods, commas, or question marks. Here's how to punctuate a quote. Usually there's a comma before a quote. Don't end the quote between sentences. Wait until the end of the quote. At the end of the quote, the period, comma, or question mark usually goes before the end quotation marks. Here are some examples. Sue Smith writes, "Warfare is not an effective father." So you'll note where that comma comes before the quote and before the quotation mark, and at the end of the quote we have the period and then the quotation marks. We can also write, "Warfare is not an effective father," writes Sue Smith. Notice here the comma at the end still comes before the end of the quotation marks. And then at the end of the sentence we still have a period. If you want to use an idea you read about, but you want to summarize it in your own words, you can do that as well. You still need to tell the reader where you got your information, but you do not use quotation marks. Let's see an example. Okay, now let's review everything we've learned.